It is a day of massive volatility in the market. We are observing assets dropping like this. And XRP is inside the pattern. It did not break to the downside. So when you look at all these assets, you should be thanking to this guy, right? But at the same time, you do see thought process like this in the market where they say, I'm not worried about Ether being a security in the US. So if you have actually checked about what happened from the SEC, now you will be confused. Like for me, I had this doubt. Like if you are looking at that, Ether, Solana, and Cardano is like, one of these biggest staking protocols. And what we have to keep in mind is if you look at where they are located, this is Cardano, right? It's not in the US, it's in the Switzerland. Then you're looking for the Solana Foundation. It's somewhere there. And then you're looking for where this is. And it's all located at one side of the world, right? Not in the US. So even at that point, this guy coming out and saying this, it's like, okay, there is something cooking which we really don't know. But the real question is, does the market believe that guy? I really don't think so. If we are observing this pattern here, then the market did not actually believe him. That's sure. Because if you zoom out, there are times in history when we had similar pattern rising wedge, which broke to the upside. And while we were in a bullish momentum, that just continued to the upside. Whereas here, right now, what we're observing is that same thing dropping to the downside, not going back to the upside. So right now, this is Bitcoin, and it's showing you there is huge volatility. We actually had a break in this level. We came all the way back to the downside. While we were looking at these charts, like we broke the first one, we came to the second level of support, and then we broke that level too, traveling to the downside. We were following the price, keeping you guys updated, and understood like, okay, the price and the volatility seems to be extraordinary because of the fear in the market. But still, if you zoom out, this is what you actually see. Macro, right? And if you actually understand that, you may still be able to get out of this market alive with some profits. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family. Yesterday we talked about massive action coming into the market, but we never thought it's going to be this kind of massive action. But for us, while looking at the XRP, it still is showing you that it is not breaking to the downside as of now. And if we focus on the pattern side of it, saying like, okay, that was a correction. We did this A, B, C corrective leg and we are at a support. That's a little bit peace of mind for now. But when we look at the market, we do see a lot of different assets trying to bounce back up because of the news. Like if you are looking for these and you understand like, okay, these are like liquidity pools for the staking. And the market is trying to adjust or hedge against the risk which the SEC is putting out there. When you look at what they are going through, and I'm like, they are taking 30 million from an exchange and stopping the staking program for cryptocurrency, which actually means they are not really protecting the investors, because if the investor is making money, they just don't want you to make that money. That's it. Because imagine you are an exchange providing this service to your clients. Will you put your money in the bank or will you actually buy these assets and stake? So basically what SEC is doing is helping the funders, the big banks, the giant banking institutions. That's it, basic sense. Otherwise, why would they actually go against all this? Because when you are here in the market and you are focusing on all this and thanking this guy for doing what he did today, you also see that this is the same market where this is happening, right? Brad just highlighted, okay, we know what happened in the US, agreed. But let's actually see what's happening around the globe. This is really important for anyone to understand. The world is not only US, agreed, it's the biggest economy, which is about to burst. But look at this, continuing its history of being tech forward. Dubai just published an extensive new set of tech agnostic rule books for crypto market participants. So they're getting more quality standards to buy and run their business. Australia's treasury is looking to reform licensing and custody for crypto. That means they are looking for the custodians, and most likely they're going to give you some rewards when they custody your assets. UK, new consultation reflects the government's intent to establish a proportionate, clear framework that allows firms to innovate while maintaining financial stability. South Korea, Financial Services Commission published guidelines for crypto, which is actually, a great thing. What would be considered a security? Well, as a payment token. Now understand, payment token, that's something big. Let's goes on. Brazil's new legislative framework. Note the commonalities. These regulators are providing leadership and doing the work they were desperately missing in the US. But right now, what we are looking at is that the US is trying to kick this entire crypto industry down. There was a time when, Ripple was being screwed, and a lot of people were against Ripple, saying, okay, they should be screwed. But right now, you don't actually see that it's only being Ripple. It's only being XRP as a protocol, as a ledger. Now, the heat is on all these other assets which are providing staking. And the market, at least for the time being, is saying, okay, we don't care, because that's happening in the US, and XRP is not tradable in the US as of now, right? They haven't relisted it, and for the time being, that's a good news for us, because they are not actually selling, because they are not able to do that during this panic period. Mostly, this is a panic selling. Otherwise, I would be looking at this asset and saying, like, okay, does they offer Bitcoin staking, or is this a proof of stake mechanism? No, it's not, all right? But the panic in the market is pushing everything down together. It's not only one asset going down. When you are looking at all these assets which are running like this, you see a big list. So these are assets which are down in the top 100. Then you can take steps into and see, like, panic is going through the market. It's actually pushing that wave of panic through a lot of people selling. Now, if you know that, okay, this is breaking to the downside and your major support level is going to be way lower than where you are, now, yeah, that's a big concern. But then you have to actually ask, like, okay, we did have a breakout, but did we happen to retest that level? In some of these assets, we did not do that. So there is a huge possibility that now the price may come back lower and give that retest before it actually bounces back up. So now what would that look like? Say, for example, if you put the numbers in perspective, that's another 10 to 15% drop just in Ether. Now, if you are looking for Cardano as a whole, the macro pattern trend and analysis there, you would actually put the line here and say, okay, we have some way to the downside, right? We didn't actually get the RSI showing you that level of bullishness. And here you are, you have like 20% to the downside. But the area where you get a little bit confused is the places like, say, for example, you look at FTM. We are looking at a protocol where the RSI was showing you it's turning bullish and the price actually went up compared to a lot of other protocols. But then if you are looking at the same on a daily to see whether we got a decent retest, we're like, no, we did not actually get that. So what does that mean? If you're going for a retest in this asset, you are literally looking for a 50% to the downside. But I think that's not going to be the case in these kind of assets, because in the macro, in my thought process, they're actually showing you a structure which is common, which we have seen in the last market cycle, right? You have an accumulation range, you go through that accumulation range, and what happens? You break higher, you consolidate near there. So if you just put that into perspective, you have to look at what happened here. Now remember, both of these are actually showing you a similar pattern where it actually suggests to you that the accumulation double bottomed and you're slowly moving back up. Now, this is a different time horizon. Yeah, it did not actually look like what we just went through right now, but in the price structure, it does, not the time frame. And then now we are coming back here to see, okay, we actually got that Adam and Eve double bottom pattern here. We broke higher. So if we are to repeat the history, then we are consolidating here before we take off. Now, you go look back at Ether back in the days when we were doing the same exact thing. You will notice that we had similar pattern which broke to the upside, and after that, that exact pattern played out. You did a consolidation before you took off. Fine. So now we come back here asking like, okay, what are we doing right now? Are we there yet? In that thought process, we are not. This is your top. This is your level of resistance. So if you are to plot that accumulation, you need to go beyond this level, right? Then the macro trend lines, which you can actually draw, looks like something like this. More or less, you are taking in all the standard deviations, you are covering all these price actions and saying like, okay, we broke to the upside, but we did not yet get a retest. Fine, so we are waiting for that. Now, at the same time, what is concerning is that the Bitcoin side of it. Because people are going to give you a lot of different thought process like, okay, $10,000 Bitcoin is coming, $5,000 Bitcoin is coming, or whatever the number is being thrown out there. But the first question is, what's the major support level? For now, this range is going to act as a major support level. Focus this. You got a resistance, another support which was faked out, then another level of resistance, another resistance, then again resistance. Now you see that here. So historically, based on TA, you will understand that it turns into a support. So that's what we are looking at. Now you can actually zoom out, go on a 3-day chart and ask the same question, saying, okay, what am I looking at, right? And you see the same. The trend line here for Bitcoin looks like this. You broke that to the upside. Now, yeah, you may get a retest, which is going to be a little bit of pain. But look at the process. You had the support level here, which turned into a resistance afterwards. Then you broke that level. You got the momentum to go through that level. So now when you're looking for the downside, you don't actually directly say, okay, I'm going to look for this level or I'm going to look for this level. That's not usually how it actually happens. You look for this level first, right? Which is going to be 21,300, close to that. Now, even if you say that's a range which I'm looking at, yes, I agree that's going to be a zone of support. So you'll have to plot it to the upside and to the downside, where this level, if you zoom in, you can actually notice this, right? The standard deviation was also here. It was also acting as a resistance here. It was also acting as a support here. So that's a valid support resistance trend line there. So now it comes all the way towards here. Agreed. So that's going to be somewhere close to 20,700. That's your big support, which we want to see holding. Because if that does not hold, now it's a panic zone. You're going all the way back down to 19,000. But yeah, not 10,000 as a lot of people are actually giving you out there in the market. Now, what's the actual impact of this? Imagine this is mainly for crypto asset staking as a service program. So if you are looking for assets which you are staking outside, you need to understand like, okay, most likely this is going to impact for proof of stake coins. Now, that's a general consensus out there. But remember, you can stake your USDT, you can stake your Bitcoin, you can stake anything. Third parties actually provide you with that service. And most of us do that outside US. We really don't care because this is what's happening in the world, right? And these guys who are actually doing that, remember, Ether just moved on to a new protocol, which is proof of stake. And what they are doing right now is massive staking. And if this guy believes that they are not going to become illegal, most likely that's going to happen. Why? You know, the friends in SEC, that can be a big possibility. But right now, the prior question would be, is the panic over yet? I would say not yet. But what we have to keep in mind is this. We watched through this pattern for like 1,000 days. Remember, 1,000 days. That was painful process. In between, we had the great good run. That was good. But then we entered into that corrective action from this level, right? So if we take just the corrective action, we would actually see, okay, 400 days of correction. But then you happen to break higher from this pattern. So remember, a falling wedge, which we have followed from a long time, broke to the upside in Bitcoin. So now we are removing all those. You don't want to get biased. You are looking at the price action, right? To reduce the noise, that's why we're actually using a line chart. You can actually convert that back into a candlestick. It's completely fine. If you want, we can actually do that like this, and we still see the same pattern. So the price broke to the upside on a falling wedge, which is actually bullish. Now the indicator suggests to you the same. What's important here is that 1 month it raised all of these here, which actually shows you the power of bulls, which is actually important to look at, right? So right now, when we are observing that there is massive volatility, the fear being injected into the market, and it's not reflected completely. I can agree on that point, because right now, not everyone is awake and looking at this. There are people who are sleeping in different time zones of the world, and when they wake up and see these news, there can be panic selling. That is a huge possibility, and that's why the support here is going to be really important, right? We wicked through to the downside, came close to like 21,700 or just below that, but we still have support to the downside, and most likely you may see that being tested. But one thing we have to note that is this breakout is not retested. We did not go back up to retest that level, so that's going to be a possibility which we cannot rule out, and some of these coins are actually going to run back up higher, because even when they are running higher with Bitcoin dropping, kind of gives you that idea like, okay, something is happening with these networks. Investors are moving money, because as we discussed, we are still close to $1.1 trillion, and with the panic, people are jumping on from one narrative or the ideology of investing to another. Now it's like, okay, this kind of staking, I don't like it. I'm going for an alternative, right? That's happening right now in the market, and you see a lot of different protocols slowly grinding back higher, right? When we look for, liquid staking protocols, we see like, Anchor, we see Frax, or we see LidDAO, all of them are slowly grinding, bouncing higher, because the market is reacting in that direction. So for us, those who are in XRP, until we break to the downside, it's not a bad news yet. We were supposed to do this. If you remember, before this happened, we talked about a possibility of dropping to this support level. And here we reached that support with the help of the almighty SEC. Great. But understand, the future does look bright. And if you believe the world is going to end today, okay, fine, that's bad. But if you think the world is not going to end today, and especially the crypto world is not going to end today, because the world is not only US, then you are looking forward. Then you are looking for the opportunities coming. Then you are looking for the bright future. That's what we are here for, because we are not heavy on the assets like what we just talked about. Basic sense, right? When we are looking for Cardano, when we are looking for Ether, we have some Cardano, but it's not like the big heavy position like XRP, XLM, HBAR and these payment assets, right? Basically, you cannot actually compete with them. The utility of those are derived from the value and how people can use it, because it's being used right now to solve real problems, pain points in the market. That's healthy. So guys, if you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.